Miami Grand Prix is right around the corner, and while we couldn't sponsor it this year, we were asked, but it's not really in our budget. I thought it'd be fun to make a couple drinks to celebrate. I'm not really into Formula One, didn't really know anything about it. My name is Jason. I'm the head distiller at Tropical Distillery here in Miami, and I thought it'd be fun just to experiment and see if we could come up with something that we could drink at the Miami Grand Prix. Wanted it to be fruity, tropical, and after a little research, it was just clear what it should be. Of course, papaya, which is the color of McLaren. Wasn't sure I really wanted to focus on one particular team, but it was right there in front of me. They're having such a great year. Going back and watching all the highlights, just watching Oscar Piastri back out of the grass and onto the track was just so awesome. So I figured, hey, let's celebrate that. So we're gonna make a papaya liqueur, maybe branch that off into a ready-to-drink cocktail, and then consulted ChatGPT for a little bit, see what it came up with for Miami Grand Prix themed cocktail. Didn't get a lot of great answers, but I did get a good one, so we're gonna make that one. Yeah, so let's get started. So for the papaya liqueur, we're gonna start out with whenever you're working, I'm working with a puree concentrate, and I'm working with a puree. So for papaya, and whenever you're working with fruit, what you want to do is you want to add that last, because alcohol, especially like higher proofs, gels pectins. We're going for 20% ABV because that's what it is for all our other liqueurs. Maybe this will be a line extension. You never know. Start out, tear our scale. And we're going to start with our GNS, starting out with high proof, 191.5 proof. Do what we need for 20%, it's about 170 grams. So I always do, when I'm doing R&D, I always do 1 liter batches because they're easy to scale. And we're going by weight because especially high proof alcohol expands and contracts. So the volume changes based on temperature. It's about 75 degrees here. If it was warmer, there'd be more volume. So going by volume, that wouldn't be as accurate. So we got our alcohol, then we got to calculate how much sugar that we want in this. I'm not sure how much sugar is actually in the puree or how sweet it is. Give it a little taste. Concentrate we're going to be using less of because it is a concentrate. The puree is sort of sweet. Concentrate is sweeter, obviously, because it's a concentrate. Also, got to think of the colors, because, you know, McLaren papaya thing is a color thing, so we want to make it look like it. That's looks like the color that we want to go for, but this one has a really good flavor. Yeah, apparently there's a red papaya, and then there's a yellow papaya. I did not know that. So we got our alcohol. We know, based on the alcohol, I've got about 805 mil of just other ingredients to work with. Some of that's going to be sugar. And this is pretty sweet, so I'm gonna do about 100 grams of sugar, I think. Normally I do a little bit more, but this papaya is pretty sweet. Generally do about like anywhere from like 140 grams per liter to like 200 grams per liter for liqueurs. We're gonna start with 100. And then 100 grams of sugar roughly takes 60 mil in volume, so we can subtract that from our 805. So we got 745 mil left. Trying to figure out the amount of water that we need for this, because then we want to add everything first before we add the concentrates in there. And also gonna hold a little bit back in case we need to add more sugar, add more volume that way. And also we're gonna add a little bit of lime to balance that out, give it some acidity, some extra acidity, and just like an extra, and just another dimension of flavor. We're gonna do about 5 grams of that. Now let's try 10 grams, you can really taste it. 10 grams of lime concentrate, you can really taste it. I'm gonna go for 7 grams. And then because that is pure, that's like, translates roughly into like 5 mil, so we're down to 740 that we need to add. Via puree, start with 75 grams of that. Just a rough guess. That's probably gonna be about 55 mil. So I'm not sure the density of this, I could look it up real quick, but I'm just going off a general estimate. This one I'm gonna do just like mostly for the flavor, and also to get like a little bit of darker orange, because this one's a little bit more yellow than that papaya that you see on the McLaren cars. I'm gonna go for 15 mil of that, which is probably gonna be about like 12 or 15 grams, which is gonna be roughly like 12 mil. And then some flavoring. So I've got an actual commercial papaya flavor from Allen Flavors. I find that these really help with what like perfumers would call like a top note, that aroma that first hits you. This really helps with that. Whereas like concentrates, I found like across the board can really have like an earthy texture rather than that aromatic that you want. So that's why I like to balance it with a little bit of natural flavoring. And because it's liqueur, all the flavors have to be natural. So even when it comes in a little bottle concentrated like this, it's still considered natural. So I'm gonna do, this one has a rule of 2%. So 2% of 1,000, that's 20 mil, that's a lot. This is pretty strong, and we already have some papaya flavoring in there. So I'm gonna start with 5 mil of that. So we're down to 668. We're gonna add 660 mils of water, and then we'll build the rest of our ingredients into that. And then I can always add a little bit, that extra few mils at the end of the, if we need to. But again, this is just a test batch. It doesn't need to be completely accurate. It doesn't need to be ready for production. Just the first to go. And generally the order that I like to add them in is alcohol and water first, and sugar, because if you try mixing sugar with alcohol, it doesn't like to mix in. It's very difficult to mix in. So always want to get as much water in there as possible so it helps the sugar dissolve. 100 grams of sugar. And again, this papaya is like, it has a sweet, it's sweeter than most fruit purees that I've worked with. And that's more of like a perception thing, whereas it might not actually have more actual sugar in it than say like a berry, but the berry has more acidity to it, which makes it seem less sweet. So that's why we're adding in some lime juice in there and adding in less sugar than I normally would. We'll get this mixed up and dissolve. Again, sugar's adding more volume. You can see we're, probably can't see it, but we're almost at, we're over 900 mils right now. We'll add in our lime next. And what did I say? 7 grams. Go for 7 grams. And this is actually key lime concentrate since we're in South Florida. Do 15 grams of our papaya, red papaya concentrate. You can see it kind of got some chunky bits in there. Well, we're gonna stir that up. The color looks starting to look nice. So that went a little bit orange. It's very red in the, so I might be able to actually use a little bit more of that because this went a nice orange when it's diluted down. And then we're gonna do 75 grams of our yellow papaya puree. And I'm using a 1 mil micro pipette to measure this out. Secret ingredient. Okay, that's like, yeah, that flavoring really helped with the aromatics of this. And we're at roughly, so we're gonna add in our last little bit of water. There we go. Papaya liqueur, just as simple as that. Dang, it is windy today. Currently it's Sunday, right before the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. As soon as I'm done mixing these up, I'm gonna head out and find a place to watch it. Check to make sure we got all the sugar. Normally on these bottles, 1,000 milliliters would be about right there. But because we just mixed high proof with water, that's an exothermic reaction, so it's gonna be a lot warmer. We're gonna have to try a little bit. And of course, it being warmer makes it expand. There we go. The color, I think, looks pretty good. And of course, like to really get a good flavor out of it, you need to let it sit for at least a day. But might as well try it now. Now it looks, that is really good. I wouldn't add more sugar to it because like a bartender could always add sugar to these, but that's just me. You can always add sugar, you can never take it away. So if you add too much, like this is perfect for me. It does have that aromatic notes from the flavoring, but it's also got that earthy bit from the papaya purees. Now, one issue with the purees is it will settle like our citrus liqueur has. You might be able to see there's a little bit of settling there, which is why we had the shake well on all our products. Using real fruit, it does tend to settle. Can't really get away from that unless you like filter that out, which changes the flavor a little bit. Really happy with that. Can't wait to see how it like evolves in flavor. Yeah, this might be a fun one. Let's see if we could like maybe release it next year for the Miami Grand Prix. Move on to the next one. So this is the one that ChatGPT came up with. There were some few stinkers that it came up with, but this was pretty good. Called Drag Reduction Spritz, which I really like that name. DRS. It is a cucumber, elderflower, and mint liqueur. Which, and I asked it what proportions that would have for those three ingredients, and it gave me a 4-3-1 ratio, like 4 of cucumber, 3 of elderflower, and 1 of mint, and not sure I agree with that. I would do, so I did work on a cucumber liqueur before. It's good. I got that one right here. This one, it's good, but a little bit like one-dimensional, and I think this version is our owners asked me to build that one, and I think this would be more what they're looking for. The cucumber one, I think, had more limited applications, but if you build it out with a couple other flavors like elderflower and mint, it'll have a little bit more broader appeal than just cucumber. So we're gonna build this one out and see what it is. So starting with our, and this one's just gonna be like just pure flavors. Using actual cucumber juice does not work well. And then the other flavorings like mint, of course you can like muddle into it or make a tincture, but that's just a pain in the butt and it muddles it up. Using a flavoring will give us a clear liqueur, which I like the idea of. So we're doing, again, around 170 mils of our high proof. And then, all right, so just taking some notes here. Drag reduction, spirit 1 liter. So that leaves us 805 mil of water. Then we do flavor. So I'm gonna do a 3-2-1 ratio. Kind of thinking that the cucumber and the elderflower need to be equal, but we're gonna trust ChatGPT on this one a little bit and see how it is. It's not doing the 4-2-1, so it's gonna be a 3-2-1. Again, I think the elderflower probably should be 3, but again, we can always add, can't take away. That's a total of 6 mils, so we need, that's 799 mil water left. And then for sugar, when I was doing the cucumber liqueur, I did 150 grams of sugar for that one. I think that worked out pretty well, so we're gonna do that. 150 grams of sugar, which is 90 mil of volume, so that leaves us 709 mil of water that we need to add, which means it's 709 grams of water, because of 1 mil is 1 gram. And that's why the metric system is great. Got our water added. Let's add in our sugar, 150 grams. And then for our flavorings, we're using our micro pipette again. We are doing an elderflower. I do love that flavoring. I think it's like Saint Germain, that's the elderflower liqueur there. That's the bartender's ketchup, is what they call it, I believe. Put it on everything. And maybe this could change that. And then the mint. I gotta make sure I got the right mint, because I got a peppermint and I got a spearmint, and I want the spearmint. Mint. Nope, not that one. That's the one for the peppermint schnapps. This is the one. Nope, that's it. All right. And just 1 mil of this is the most I would use in this. Less might be more appropriate, but I do like that refreshing feeling that mint gives it. Yeah, I can smell it from here. Give that a good stir. All right, yeah. We'll get that into our bottle. Alrighty. Again, ideally we want to wait a couple days for the flavors to meld together, but I'm thirsty now. Okay, the sugar's right. I think I know what I forgot. It's not really that bright. We're gonna do about 1/2 gram citric acid and 1/2 gram of malic acid. Give that a good shake. Still thinking I might need to add another mill elderflower, and that's probably gonna be on the next. I'll do another version of this. So the citric and malic just add like a little bit of brightness to it. Pop that right up. That's what I was missing. So, okay, ChatGPT, you won that round, convinced. But when we get to the RTD round, we're gonna change this one up a little bit. Something I did not think of. RTDs, ready to drink cocktails. We're gonna do a Papaya Mule. So take our basic recipe from the liqueur, and we're gonna add some ginger flavoring because I don't have any actual ginger, just got the flavoring. We're gonna carbonate it, and then we're gonna can it. We are an actual craft distillery that has a canning line, so we can create RTDs pretty easily. We're gonna do this at 7% to avoid any labeling issues. That's gonna be around 60 grams of high proof. All right, now we gotta figure out our water add. So that's roughly 73 mil of GNS, 929 mil of water. Now you're thinking, hey, 73 and 929 do not equal 1,000, and that's because when ethanol and water combine, there is this some sort of science or magic that occurs where it, yeah, contracts a little bit, and it's a hygroscopic reaction, but whatever. All right, so we're gonna do a little bit more lime juice. We're gonna do 10 grams of lime juice concentrate. It's gonna be roughly like 7 or 8 mils, so that's 7 mil. Because we want it to be a little bit brighter, the citric acid, or the citric acid? Carbonic acid is gonna help it pop a little bit. Also the citric acid in the lime is gonna help it pop a little bit. We want it to be really bright as a mule. The ginger is gonna add some earthiness to it, which we wanna counteract with that additional acid. Ginger, let me see the rule on that one. And it's 0.1 to 0.3%. We're gonna go for a whole, because it's a mule, we want it to taste gingery, so we're gonna go for the full 3 mils in this one. Sugar, I think we're gonna do 50 grams. Normally I find anywhere from 50 to 100 grams in an RTD per liter of sugar is literally the sweet spot. So we're gonna go in the low end for this particular one. And again, if you want the volume of a weight of sugar, you just multiply by 0.6. So that's 30 mils. We're gonna stick with the same, I think we're gonna stick with the same proportions of the papaya purees and the flavoring. So 5 mil of the flavor, 15, might as well experiment a little bit. We go 25 of the concentrate, 25 grams, and then 50 grams of the puree, the yellow puree. Hopefully we'll get a good color out of it. Minus the lime, minus the flavoring of the ginger, minus the sugar, minus the flavor, and minus the, so 804 roughly of water. So we're making a carbonated beverage, so we want it to be as cold as possible. So we're starting with some ice. And I've got some cold water from the fridge, so we're going for 804. We want it as cold as possible for maximum absorption of CO2. And again, we want the alcohol diluted as much as possible because it will gel pectins in the fruit. So we're doing 25 of the concentrate, 50 of the puree. Puree doesn't seem to have a lot of flavor to it, but nice color. And we're done with these, so we'll put these back in the fridge. Smells really good. 50 grams of sugar. Ginger. Our 3 ml of ginger. Ginger flavoring going in. 10 grams of key lime concentrate. All right, so we got our purees, we got our sugar, we got our ginger flavoring, we got our lime flavoring. Should be everything. So we just need our lid. Give it a good shake. Get that sugar dissolved. Got a CO2 charger. So this is just a whipping siphon. This is a CO2 cartridge. 8 grams. which when dissolved in there completely and taking up headspace will equal roughly like 2.5 to 3 volumes of CO2 carbonation. I'm gonna stick it in the fridge to chill out for a little bit. All right, so I've got some cans chilling in the fridge, so you want everything as cold as possible so the CO2 doesn't break out. We go to can it. You'll be able to see me over here canning. I've got some pre-labeled cans for our Papaya Mule. We're gonna let out the CO2 slowly. Don't know how much this one's gonna break out. Kind of depends on the fruit and the sugar content. Want to go as slow as possible. All right. Again, trying to keep as much CO2 in there as possible, so we're doing this as quickly as we can. And then we're gonna seam these up. So yeah, there we got our cans, and we're gonna seam them. And I'm using the October Design can seamer. This is set up for 12-ounce sleeks, which is what our canning line's set up for, and also these 8-ounce, soon to be 7.5-ounce sleeks, because they're phasing out 8-ounce across the industry. That one's a little full. So there we go. Papaya Mule ready for anyone from McLaren who wants to come claim them. They'll probably be less by the time the Grand Prix comes around, so I'll save some. I can always make more. I know the recipe. There's making 4 of those 8-ounce cans. There's always a little bit left over for sampling. It's fine. Yeah, ginger's not really coming through, but yeah, I'd probably draw back the papaya flavoring a little bit. Color's good though, but it's really refreshing. I'd call that a win. I'd call that qualifying. Again, like having it sit for a while in the can for the flavors to meld, it's probably gonna change a little bit, and I'll probably like it a lot better in the future. All right, now for our Drag Reduction Spritz. We're gonna do a 2-2-1 for the flavoring. So 2 parts coconut, 2 parts cucumber, 2 parts elderflower, and 1 part mint. 50 gram sugar. Keeping the sugar content low. And with the RTD, you can't really like add sugar to it because it's carbonated. So you wanna like nail it. I'm thinking 50 to 75 grams of sugar, but we're gonna go with 50, which is 30 mil. Starting off with our booze. Just about 60 grams. Just 73 mil. Ice cubes in there. This would be a nice one to develop because it's pretty easy to make, mostly just flavorings. No fruit, easy to filter. Mint. 1 mil. Elderflower. 2. Cucumber. I think these need to be balanced. The cucumber and the elderflower, they need to be equal. But again, we'll come back to the Drag Reduction Spirit when it's that time to meld. Sugar, again, 1/2 gram citric, 1/2 gram malic just for brightness. I'm not sure how much, I know I looked this up, whether or not cucumber has, I think it does have citric and malic in it. The actual veggies. But it just really makes it pop. I've been looking for that. Give it a shake. Get all that mixed up. Grab our supercharger. Making sure all that sugar is dissolved in there and that all our CO2 is dissolved in there. Let that settle for a moment. Get our lids ready. Degassing. Or relieving the pressure. Smells good. Alrighty. And then we'll seam these up. Good to go. And we're gonna check them later, and hopefully that turns out. But again, we got a little bit left over for evaluation. Let's see how it is. Nose is good. It's bright. Cucumber-elderflower, just a hint of mint. It's pretty good. That's totally crushable. I think the sugar's right. Pretty darn good. Drag Reduction Spritz. I think like spritz is one of those things like it's like bubbles. There's no way to say it without sounding happy. Spritz, bubbles. Let me know what you think about these drinks in the comments down below. If you'd like to try any of them. Papaya Liqueur is looking pretty good. Drag Reduction Spirit sounds fun. Try that again. I really like this one. Gonna give the Spritz, Drag Reduction Spritz, a few days to kind of mellow out. But I think that one's gonna be pretty good. And yeah, really happy with the Papaya Liqueur. In terms of like if it's something that we would actually release as a company, a little too close to our mango, which has been our bread and butter for the last few years, but it's good. Anyway, McLaren, come get it. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye.